Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network hot take. Guys, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a TV show, and that TV show is The Last of Us Season 1. Here to discuss, as always, my baby girl, Chris Tria.
I didn't like that at all. But anyways, how are you, Gooch? I'm glad to be here. It was more of a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I was thinking of like a Joel
Response.
thing, but I couldn't come up with anything.
Is that it?
And joining us for the first time in a little while,
Yeah, a little while.
Chaz Squillace, my Gugina, whatever.
I'd say you're a family, but you're just cargo to me today, boy.
See, now that was good.
I'm Joel Miller.
Well, do you?
Why did he get all gravelly? He should
Joel
sound
turned
a bit
into
more
like
southern.
like an older, fatter version of himself.
That's just my like southern impression. I just like lose everything.
Yeah, you get down in there.
Joel Miller.
Joel Miller.
All right, guys,
This has been a long time coming.
we're fucking here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's
And honestly, Chaz, I want you to start us off.
Oh, why me? You made me start off Last of Us Part 2.
Did I? Do you not want to start first?
I'll start, whatever. Well, I mean, it was like, you brought me on for Last of Us because, as you know, Last of Us series is like my favorite series. And
Absolutely.
I played the first Last of Us, I would say 23 to 25 times.
Wow.
Yeah, because
yeah.
when I was trophy hunting, you know,
Of course.
and then
I
every
got
year,
the part one plat. Just let's get it on the table.
Let's put it in there. Like
Let's get it on the
throw.
table. Yeah, gotta
Slide
let
it in.
Gotta let everyone know.
But yeah,
Yeah.
for me to like love a game so much, like I would play it and then plat it, and then I think I had to like replat it again, and then the remaster came out, and just like, all right, do it again,
Right.
blah
Sure.
blah blah. And then just playing it over and over and just loving it, and just like I just love that game so much. So this, once they announced it, I was just like, why are they
Right.
doing like, because
Right.
the curse of anything video game being adapted to TV, movies, or anything, it's just terrible. You're just let down.
It's not a great track record for sure.
Absolutely not. And then when I saw the cast, I love Pedro Pascal a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I could see him pulling Joel, and then Bella. I only know her from Game of Thrones, so I don't really know. But I'm like, okay, if,
Fine.
If Druckmann is a part of this, I have faith. And then once that trailer dropped, I was literally goosebumps. I'm like, it wasn't even like them. It was the set and like how the environment and the music and everything. I'm like, this is it. I think we're gonna break this curse. And so when I watched it, I was very pleased. I don't think it's perfect. I love it. I loved every episode. I would give it maybe 8.5 out of 10. That's
right.
my review.
I like it.
Yeah, I think this is I think this is the best video game adaptation we've ever gotten.
Yes.
One, it actually adapts the game it's based off of. I don't think we've had a video game adaptation. I can think of Warcraft did it. Tomb Raider did it.
There's been a bunch
like
of it. There has been.
Sonic, Mario,
Uncharted.
Mortal
They
Kombat,
put the
Uncharted.
plane scene.
They're not really based off the game. They're just like, okay, we're going to take the game. We're not going to adapt the plot and like the actual story, but we're going to kind of do our own thing.
See, I disagree with that, but continue.
But The Last of Us decides that we're just going to do the game. We're not sugarcoating it. There's no bullshit. They do change things up, but it's an adaptation of Last of Us Part 1. Period. End of story. There's no debate. And it succeeds. It's fucking fantastic. It's not perfect. I think while watching it, obviously, like, constantly comparing it to the game, I was like, I don't think what they did in the show is necessarily better than what they do in the games, but I do appreciate that it's different. There are some things like,
fleshing out of certain instances and people.
yeah, like like the infected and how they go into them a little bit more and how the cordyceps hive mind works. And I'm like, I don't know if we need all this. And then like Tess getting kissed by the fucking infected. I'm like, I didn't need that at all. Like, I'm like, she could have just gotten ripped apart, and I think that would have been much more impactful. But they decided to go for this like slow burn moment of like the infected just going up to her and like it's putting its little spore tendrils in her mouth. I'm like, I don't know about that. But yeah, you know, like between like the Bill stuff and the differences with maybe Riley a little bit. Like I'm not gonna go, this is the game's better here, the show's better here. I'm just like, it's a different way to tell the story, and what I appreciate about it is how true to the game it is. Sure. And think that's what's important here. And like Chaz said, Neil Druckmann being involved, I think, is the key of that. He wasn't involved in Uncharted, and I think that's day and night. Did you see Uncharted?
Yeah. As soon as they said Mark Wahlberg was Sully, I'm like, I'm out, but I'll watch it.
Again, I will say that like when we do talk about the video game curse not being broken, it monetarily that's getting a sequel. You know what I mean? Like it monetarily has been broken a bunch of times now. Like video games, movies, and properties have very much succeeded. I think that curse has been kind of lifted much before this. But
for like fans of the game, like
sure,
regular Joe Schmo would be like, "Oh, that was really cool." That don't even know that Uncharted's a game.
Yeah, I mean, and it's great that The Last of Us has gained so much attention from non-gamers.
Yeah.
I know a ton of people who are watching this who aren't gamers, and it's kind of funny as like every episode goes on. It's like, okay, we get to the Left Behind episode, and like, okay, you know what happens, and we get to the David episode with that group of people in the winter, like we know what happens, and you're kind of just like watching people's reactions and being like, yeah, man, I'm like, you know, because like I know what happens, like this isn't surprising to me, but you know, I'm enjoying every step of the way. Sure. What I found funny was the people who played the game having like a visceral reaction. I'm like, you've played the fucking game. Like, why is this surprising to you?
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. Well, it's funny. Even for me, like, I remember the broad strokes of the first game. I haven't played it in a while. So there were some stuff that I kind of did really, like, I had fuzzy memories of, but I didn't really fully remember it.
And going off of that, I was playing the game. Once I finished the episode, I booted up the game and played from episode start to episode end for every episode. Yeah. And that was a great way to experience the Part 1 remake that's on PS5. Because like when it came out, I'm like, I don't need to play this right now. Yeah. And I'm glad I waited, because I'm like, this was the time where I'm just playing them back to back and I'm hearing the same dialogue again and I'm seeing the same scenes again and seeing what they changed and what stayed the same. Like Left Behind was one that I don't really know it that well, and hearing like, oh, they reused a lot of lines here that I totally didn't even realize. But Trio, what did you think?
I fucking hated it. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I was I had a visceral reaction to you, I think, at the beginning when I heard about this. It was like, why?
Like,
well, even genuinely, even if they were like kind
of
executed critically acclaimed game of all time. They did.
Yeah, let's do it.
Like that game is such a blueprint already for a great drama that I will give them credit for just following it and having Neil Druckmann at the head of it. I do think that made a huge difference, and I think it allows for a lot of forgiveness with changing things because an original creator is there, and he's the one making the decisions. So I think that's great. I do think it's kind of sad that the other co-creator kind of got left out. I forget his name.
Bruce Straley.
He wrote like kind of a whole Twitter thread about how like talking about how creators probably should. He wasn't even actually. He was glad about the success of the show and stuff, but how maybe when you do create something like that, you probably should get a bit more of a piece of the pie. But he did leave the company, and that's a whole apparently separate issue unto itself that I'd love to look more into. But the show itself, listen, I think it's great. I think it's well made. HBO obviously put the time and money into it. I think having that HBO name right above it is what gets you those HBO numbers, as what on top of being a good show and a well-told story unto itself. I don't know if this would have done the same numbers on Amazon if it was the exact same show. I genuinely, I don't.
And you know what I think helped? Something I've been really preaching, Sunday, 9 p.m. That's important.
For sure. That's a primetime spot.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Primetime slot. Everyone's watching, and then afterwards, for the rest of the night, everyone's talking about it on Twitter.
But
and then you Monday morning, going to work, going to wherever.
Absolutely, it's the water cooler
Did you watch
conversation.
The Last of Us?
No,
right.
absolutely.
Just like it was with Thrones or something.
I think them throwing it in that time slot was a show unto confidence by itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Putting it in that prime time slot was like, all right, we think we got something good here. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It's tough not to compare it to the game at some points, literally because it's a 1-to-1 adaptation, and I think that comes as a major double-edged sword for people who are playing. Like, we're not going to get those same reactions. I do think they found really interesting and cool ways to expand upon characters that I didn't really necessarily think twice about, like especially Bill who we'll get into. They definitely kind of had some almost they were able to tell like almost anthology stories within the story itself.
Like with the last episode with Anna.
And even with
A character that exists in the games, but other than
you don't really get
the
much
note,
on.
We don't know about Ellie's mom.
Exactly. And then also, I don't remember how much of that stuff, the whole Henry storyline is in the game, correct? Like
Correct.
That, like
Henry and
basically
Sam,
one-to-one.
yeah.
Okay.
They changed Sam made him deaf, which I thought
Right,
was
okay.
brilliant. I thought I was like,
But like it's like overall story arc-wise, that's the same thing.
the
most
yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, since you bring it up, I actually kind of I didn't have an issue with him being deaf, but here's the thing. In the game, Ellie and him are talking a lot, building a
you're missing
repertoire.
that.
She likes him, or sorry, he likes her, and it's very clear. And you don't get that with him being younger and deaf. It's a different dynamic. Is it better? Is it worse? Debatable, but it's done differently. And like there was another character who was like that. David. With David, Ellie and David don't kill infected together. That's an entire gameplay moment that they are building a relationship.
But again,
that
totally
makes her
looking forward to
trust
that.
him.
Yeah.
And going into your point that you were talking about on Discord, there's not a lot of infected fighting. That would have been a perfect opportunity to be like, you know, Troy Baker, aka James, leaves, goes back to the camp to get the medicine, just like in the game, and that's when the infected come in, and Ellie and David are fighting together, and learning to trust one another in the moment to survive. Yeah. He has the gun on him still that Ellie totally didn't know about, and you know that's like that part is like the gameplay moment that really works narratively into why Ellie trusts David for a little bit there.
And you can make that gameplay narrative just a story narrative unto itself. Like you could have had infected show up and you could have probably done that
but they didn't. You know?
And again, overall, we didn't see a ton of infected. I did think that shot in episode 4 or 5 when they all do rise from the ground, that whole sequence
the Sam and Henry end
was
episode.
Fantastic. But I mean,
bloater.
Overall, I think they accomplished what they set out to. I think it's a very competent and well-made show. I enjoyed it a lot from week to week. There are some things I would definitely change. Do I still think this was worth making? Cynically, no. But, you know, monetarily, yes, it did well. And I'm very happy to see that.
Two,
and I'm very happy that a major production company allowed a video game creator to really have a heavy hand in it and to really make it what he wanted to. I do think some of the stuff with Ellie and Joel is really kind of pushed to the wayside for these more anthological episodes with Bill, and I would have liked to seen their relationship grow more. I don't know if I necessarily believe that this Joel would do what he did for this Ellie by the end, and I think that's maybe because we needed a couple more episodes to, I don't know, dive into their relationship a little bit.
Or longer episodes.
Exactly.
Like, why have the Bill episode be an hour and a half, but then like
The last episode be 42 minutes.
I was like that was
Gooch
my
didn't want to admit this. And I was
that was my biggest thing was it was so rushed in certain parts that needed that bigger time slot.
I agree.
And like I don't hate the Bill episode. I love the Bill episode. I just feel
agree.
like I'd rather take that half hour and put it, you know, somewhere
towards
in
Ellie
the middle.
and Joel's relationship.
You could have definitely cut that down a little bit, except that strawberry scene was awesome. Oh
my God. Genuinely, I was watching it with my girlfriend. She's like, what? And she was joking, but she's like, I thought this was just a stupid show about zombies. And she was like bawling her eyes out. But yeah, man, listen, like I said, they successfully accomplished what they were aiming for. They made another hit TV show. We're going to get a second, bigger and badder season, which I'm curious to see how they handle what comes next.
I want to talk about part 2 at the end.
Yes, no,
part 2
and
spoilers.
I'm trying to avoid even spoiling some game stuff if possible, but you know, this is basically, you got the whole story of the first game in this season if you watched it. So, you know the story of The Last of Us Part 1. Yeah, you know, good stuff. I thought overall I'd give it also probably closer to an 8, maybe 7.75.
Ooh, the quarter.
The quarter. I'm going
You're
specific.
on a 100-point scale.
Yes,
It's like a 1,000-point scale.
Yes, but that's it for me so far anyways, until we start getting into more specific areas.
Yeah, so I think Pedro Pascal as Joel is like more or less perfect. I think I have some issues with him, and this is gonna sound very odd, having like anxiety and PTSD. I don't like how they kind of shoehorn into that. This guy's killed people for 20 fucking years.
Yeah, he's over it.
20 years. And in the game Joel is a fucking tank just like Drake is, and he kills like thousands of people with like no
remorse or
no
care,
sort of remorse. But for Joel, the thing that they really always hit home with, there's this 20 years we don't know about Joel, and he did some fucked up shit with Tommy.
And he did what he needed to do to survive.
And again, that's 20 years, not a month, not 2 months, not a year, 20 years of him killing people. So I think I find it kind of weird when he just randomly starts having like panic attacks. Like
Well,
it doesn't
I'm trying to
make
remember
sense.
in the game what happens when you get to Tommy. It's the same thing. He's just like, I don't think I can handle taking you the rest of the way. Or is it?
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
But
like,
it's not because he's having panic attacks. He's just genuinely because he's
Tommy knows the area better, so he's just like
he's trying to get out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's like, I don't care. Like, okay, I could drop her off and then
and then ship out. Whatever. It's done. I'm
Which
finished.
in the show they kind of did, but it was like,
it seems more because he feels like he can't do it.
Right. I can't kill
but the
people
thing,
like
the
that.
thing is with that is like that. There's that scene after where shit that moment where she's like, everyone I know has died or was close to me has died,
it's gone.
and,
Yeah.
and then he goes like you know, you're right, you're not my daughter. Like that was like such a powerful moment in the game,
Right.
and they nailed
treading
that.
on some
They did nail
mighty
that
thin
scene,
ice
but
here.
again, like it was just so like he was like starting to feel stuff in the show at that point, so I didn't feel like as much as I did in the game. In the game, I was like, oh,
And again,
damn!
I do think that's an issue of the medium. And I said this, I think, in Discord. We get to spend, 12 to 16 hours with them in the game? How long is that game? About that, would you say? Maybe even
12
closer
to
to 20.
18.
Yeah. Like, we get to spend a good meaty chunk with these characters at our discretion, too. And it really is just Joel and Ellie the whole time, for the most part, anyways.
Yeah,
And
for the most part. Yeah,
but
definitely.
I don't know. I do think you just aren't able to develop that type of relationship in that short amount of time span that would warrant to me what he does at the end. And also, I want to talk specifically about the end, not now, but later, but how they specifically kind of framed the ending. And I think it does kind of change the intent of what the game was itself in a lot of ways. And like
interested to
what
hear more on
the
that when we get
original,
there.
at least what I felt in the moment. But, we'll talk about it. So.
But other than that, I don't really think I have an issue with Joel per se. I think Pedro Pascal did a great job, really embodied the character.
I did feel like his accent was dropping sometimes.
I did, yeah.
It just felt like he was kind of super Southern at some points, and then he just kind of dropped back into Pedro a little bit. I don't know
That's
if it
what
was
happened.
certain.
That's what happened with Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead. I think it happens with any character.
Well, I was like,
in
he
a show,
doesn't
and,
need
like,
to be like a thick.
Look at Wanda in Avengers with that hard Russian accent in the beginning, and then they totally cut it out.
No, I agree, and I do think
Like
it's
it-
not like because Pedro can't do it. Because have you ever seen Kingsman 2?
No.
He's got a real Southern drawl on that. It's like really kind of thick. He could have easily kind of toned that down. I feel like kind of had a more consistent accent. So I don't know if that was just like a choice story wise, but that was something
when I
noticed.
picture Joel, I know he has that Southern drawl, but it's not something
No,
I like.
it's a very minor.
Like Troy Baker does a good job of it's
does.
not like really overbearing. Like I don't always think of
on
him
certain words, and I
like,
think that's
I
what he
don't
was
think
trying
of
to go for.
Joel as this like the
Southern boy.
Huckleberry kind
Yeah.
of guy.
No.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
But he he's from Texas.
Just saying, if I wanted to be anywhere where the apocalypse starts, it's Texas. Either because you can find guns or you can rob someone with the guns that you have.
like Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
With the fucking prepper basement.
Yeah.
Bella Ramsey. I think she's great as jokey, comedic Ellie. I don't think Bella Ramsey is old enough or has the acting chops yet for this serious Ellie that Ashley Johnson, being an adult, has as her. Specifically the David stuff when she's all serious. I just don't think it hits just like the game. It was like yeah, like
But
I
do
think
you
this is
think
your
that's
age.
because
I
you
don't-
got to spend more time with that Ellie?
I think it's because Ashley Johnson is older and a better actor because of the fact that she's older. It is really nothing to do with
How old is Ellie in the show? Is supposed to be in the game?
16.
I thought she was supposed to be 14.
14. She's 14.
Because
Okay.
Bella Ramsey looks 14 to me. She looks like
Oh,
she's the age that
absolutely.
she should be for this.
And that's kind of my issue going into like.
And this was filmed
season-
like a year or two ago, I
a
think.
season
so.
2. It's like they gotta wait until she's aged up a little bit because she's not gonna look 18.
Or they can recast too, which, I did see
No,
what's his
I
name
hope they
saying,
don't.
like, if she doesn't want to come back, we'll recast, but it's really up to Bella, like, or something like that was the
Okay.
quote.
yeah.
I would hate that. That would suck. 'cause
Yeah,
it
I
just-
think
it's
you
the
could
immersion
find
of it.
someone who, like, could kind of fill in as an older one, and I wouldn't really care. But you don't change drastically that much, I guess, from 14 to 19. No, I guess that's
Yes,
not true.
you do.
I guess that's when
Yeah, you
change
do.
the most drastically.
Yeah, you do.
But like no, like as a girl, like I feel like for a guy especially, but for like I feel like girls like once you hit 15,
And she
has that
looks
usually-
young, so
For
she
sure.
isn't. She definitely hasn't like totally. I think she's 18 in real life.
Yeah, that's true.
So like if she's like 22 while they're filming season 2, I don't know. I think that's
They're
gonna make a
starting to
difference.
film this shit next year. She'll be 19, and
I
she'll be
hope
the
not.
exact age.
I hope they wait.
Yeah, they might, but monetarily, no way.
But anyway,
Absolutely not.
that was really my only issue with Bella Ramsey. It's just like not that she's a bad actress. I'm like, yeah, you're just not old enough for like getting into like this real serious Ellie. What did you guys think?
I didn't mind her, but there were a couple times I cringed. That being one of them. I didn't like how much they made her swear because she swore.
Especially in episode 1, she's
Yeah.
not that sweary.
Yeah, I was just
in
like,
that.
that's just too much. Like it's
Yeah.
pushing like the
Nothing's worse than when someone curses too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's
It's good to punctuate.
At first, I was like, okay, she kind of like has the voice down a little bit. Maybe I could see myself growing with her. But once she kept saying "f this, f that," I'm just like, okay,
Yeah,
like, stop.
in that first episode, she's really hostile. And then when I played the game, I'm like, she is actually more sort of frightened by the situation and uneasy than anything. Not like, fuck you, like, or like going at Joel, ready to kill him. I'm like, no, that's not really how she is at all.
I'm sorry, I have to diverge here though. But you said this was because I forgot to rebut you at the beginning. You said that this, you said that this is the best video game adaptation ever. And I'm sorry, but Sonic, you can't beat it. That shouldn't work.
I don't wanna fucking talk about
that
this.
movie shouldn't work at all, and it works so well.
Does it actually
And it accomplishes
adapt
what
an
Sonic-
actual Sonic game?
Well, no, but that's because.
Boom.
But that's
Boom.
what. But I'm not
done.
looking for a 1-to-1 adaptation. That movie should not
Maybe
work
you should
at
get
all.
a 1-1 adaptation of Green Hill Zone.
You know
Maybe
what?
You should.
HBO was handed the bluept for an excellent TV show, and they just followed it. Good on
Yeah,
them.
but you know who doesn't like Sonic? My mom. You know who likes The Last of Us? My mom.
This is ridiculous.
Wait, is your mom watching Last of Us?
Here's the thing.
I mean, did you tell her about it?
No. She's like, have you heard there's a show called The Last of It?
As Chaz shows his mom his clicker tattoo.
Yeah, I'm like, Mom, you
Mom.
realize that's my favorite game? Oh, it's a video game?
Oh,
So
Mom.
here's the thing that I love so
Hey,
much, and I've been
Deb.
waiting to talk about this because Druckmann said it best. Like, it's good that, like, nobody will, or not everybody will pick up a controller to experience this. So, like,
Yeah.
the people that don't play video games can experience this story because
Absolutely.
this is
great.
it's one of the best stories ever written, in my opinion.
Sure.
And for people to like not even know it's a game and watch it and be this blown away, you could see every week the people that tuned in just grew every
Yeah,
episode.
true.
Which is impressive. That does not
definitely.
happen that
So
much.
how many times have I heard? Have you been watching this show, The First of Us, The Last of the End? Like, how much it's been butchered? I'm just like
The
beat
last
drop.
of the first of us.
I'm like,
end?
Yes, I've seen it. I know it's a video game. It's my favorite game of all time. It's
You
called
see
The
this?
Last
It's
of
from
Us.
that. Yeah.
So like, yeah, the cringe.
No,
that
it
I
is.
get from
Listen,
it.
I will say it's successfully broken the zeitgeist, and I don't want to take anything away from it by saying this, but I do think it being on primetime HBO has given it a significant gift.
And that's
in
that's another thing that gave me faith because ever since watching The Sopranos,
Yeah.
I'm like anything that has an
finished that,
HBO
by the
tag,
way.
I know you did. Anything that's got an HBO tag, I'm in.
You know
like,
what's so funny? I sent this to the Discord. Some like higher up at like the new Warner Brothers Discovery, whatever, were like, yeah, we think the HBO and HBO Max is really pushing people away.
what?
Yes.
So they would just call it Max?
That's what I mean. They're like, yeah, the HBO is really kind of
No.
not. That's like, you idiots. That's what's drawing everyone
Literally
to
the
you.
only
you
reason
idiot.
I'm like,
if this
HBO,
was
I need
Max
HBO.
and you had HBO things on here, no one would fucking come because they wouldn't know what's going. Ugh. Anyways, but I'm
Wow.
sorry. It's insane. It's like dealing with grandparents that have no idea what's going on. But no, it really has. It's broken the zeitgeist in a way that's just that doesn't happen in a while. I mean, Fortnite is one of those examples of like when you start hearing your parents talk about these things, regardless. And that's a video. That's of course just not even a show, but that means something. Absolutely,
Right,
it
right,
does.
right.
It really does.
Good point.
What else? How did we feel about the actual virus itself? Because I will say I'm kind of sad.
I guess you're talking about the cold open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so that I thought was somewhat interesting, but I will agree with you, Gooch. I was like, we don't. I don't think we need this.
So I like the first cold open with
I love
John
the intro.
Hannah,
Yeah.
you know, from the fucking Mummy.
fuck, I forgot that was him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm like, I think this is important for those people who didn't play the game to understand what cordyceps is. And I mean, they don't really go into the game, but we're gamers. We kind of figured things out and Google shit. And
We're smart.
Yeah.
We get it.
we go on the internet.
It's funny. Again, I don't even remember them really getting into the nitty gritty of
They don't really.
the infection. They're infected.
But there's a lot of-
It's a fungal
They're just
infection.
like, hey, there's spores.
Yeah.
Put on your mask.
You pick up collectibles that talk about the stages of the infection, and
Yeah.
people talk about it. There's some context clues that are kind of helping you out.
Sure.
With figuring that out, but like I thought that cold open was really good, and then we get to episode 2, and it's the I mean, what's the town called? The city. We're in India somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was
With the
with the wheat, right?
not with the with the wheat, but the
I can't remember what it was
a
called.
studier of mushrooms, whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
oh.
Yeah.
A fungal expert. I don't know
Yes,
what that
a
exact-
fungal expert,
Yeah.
and they bring her in, and they they're looking at it, and she's like, "We have to bomb the city," and like they're getting real serious about it. And I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Are we doing this every episode?" And then they kind of stopped.
Yeah.
So I think I would have.
I actually like that.
I
was
I
interested.
liked it, but
here.
I think I'm like they almost didn't commit to it. Like I think it would have been it, and they did in episode 3 in a way involving Bill. And then they stopped doing that.
Yeah.
And then we get
Yeah.
to the last episode where they do the Anna thing, but it's not the same. Yeah, so I was like, I think I would have liked if they committed to that bit harder.
Yeah, I do agree with you.
'Cause
I feel like they
think it was
kind of
impactful.
tiptoed on it a bit, especially even with. We're going to talk about, obviously, I think what I'm assuming is the largest change near the end concerning like Ellie and stuff like that. At least I don't think that's in the game. I'm assuming,
What are you talking about?
who Ashley Johnson plays, that whole part is not in the game.
Oh, no.
I didn't think so. Okay,
Yeah,
so
just the note.
So
Yeah.
they seem to really, be somewhat committing to like wanting to explore why the
Yeah.
virus came out, but then you're right, they kind of double step back.
Yeah,
And then they
I
didn't-
almost.
I guess it was kind of to connect it to other.
So
I don't know.
I'm comparing it to what Walking Dead does in season 1, which isn't in the comic book, which they go to the CDC and they meet Dr. Jenner, and Dr. Jenner tells them, I've been studying this and researching it since it happened. We're fucked. And they introduce like 2 episodes where they explain to the audience, we're fucked and we're not going to talk about this anymore.
And that's almost kind of like
and-
what Walking Dead did, right? At the end of the first season.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying this. I'm like,
No.
I thought you were just saying this is what they should do. I'm like, isn't that what they did in
No,
The
no,
Walking
I'm
Dead?
talking about
Yes,
The
I'm
Walking
sorry.
Dead.
I apologize.
And then in Last
here,
of
I
Us, they're
swear.
like, we're talking about the wheat, and they're getting into a little more. I'm like, oh, okay, let's back up.
Yeah.
It's not about the infected. Let's stop.
It's not about the infection.
Right.
Yeah.
It just it happened. We're in the apocalypse, but we're not like
It's weird because
we're not curing the infection, but we are. But that's really not what The Last of Us is about. I think that's like the MacGuffin of saving the world, and I think it's. Like again, when we talk about the end, that's gonna open that can of worms.
Yeah.
But I don't like Last of Us is not about saving the world. It's really not about that.
It's about the stories within that broken world.
And then they kind of explain that like when Anna is bitten, Ellie is still connected to her via her umbilical cord, and I'm like they're kind of alluding to the fact that might have something to do with why she's immune. I'm like I don't like that. I don't want the explanation. I don't care.
Did you just wait?
What?
What did you just say? Like, okay,
Anna's
continue.
bitten.
Yes.
While she's giving birth to Ellie, Ellie's still attached to her via the umbilical cord.
I just didn't know we were going right into it. That's all.
I mean,
saying.
like-
yeah, I know. No, I don't know. No, okay,
Whatever.
continue. I apologize. Continue. I'm sorry. I did not mean to break
What
your
was
thought.
shocking about what I said?
No, I didn't know we were going right into those full spoilers. I apologize.
Well, what do you need me to repeat then?
Nothing. I
Okay.
was confused. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah. So the fact that they like allude to the fact that like that might be the reason why she's infected, I'm like, I didn't need that.
What do you mean I think that's obviously what it like. I don't think that's an illusion. I think that's a telling.
Yeah, but I don't want that.
I know, but you've been given it, and
Like,
I agree with
do
that.
you-
Like I agree. Like that's it.
Right.
That's what it is.
Like we didn't have it in the game. I don't need it here. I don't need to be explained to why she's immune. It almost like it's so secondary. Like it's not important.
Well,
right?
it
It's so
genuinely
strange.
felt like the execs coming in and being like, "No, we need to know why she's infected or like why she
In the
is.
game, it's just like so irrelevant.
But no, I know,
you
but like I genuinely think there was a dumb HBO exec that was kind of like, I don't know, like
I think it was just like they had the opportunity to just like tell
Expand
a
on
little
it
bit,
more.
expand a little more, and just like
Yeah.
with Ashley Johnson, like that was such a brilliant thing to do to have her play the mom because it's like kind of like a
poetic.
it's very
it
poetic.
rhymes.
Dude, when that episode first started and she's like breathing and like
I'm like,
grunting,
there's Ellie.
oh, there's Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that whole part, like I was very, very happy with it. I love that they did that because I figured, like, not to explain like, oh, this is how she's infected. I just thought it was just a very beautiful scene and just showing like, the connection with her and Marlene and like
Sure.
the end there with that and like how she said like this is a lot harder than you think, or like I know how hard this is kind of thing. So I felt like that was needed, that scene, to like really show that part in the hospital. And just I just thought, first off, Ashley Johnson did a fucking phenomenal
she's
job
great.
doing that.
Yeah.
And just her just saying like, you've known me all your life, blah blah blah, and like so you're gonna pick her up and you're going to kill me. I was like, oh god, oh the chills. I got chills.
agree. I think the execution of it was fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
I
not,
agree with that.
and that's not the part of it that I have a problem
So-
with. I agree. It's just oh man.
I have a bit of a
They're
theory to this.
explaining.
I think so. We're gonna get into full spoilers on the ending here.
Oh yeah, like we weren't
Like even besides, no, I mean, I think there's another big thing to spoil, of course, but
Yeah.
I do think that they felt the need to make Joel look even more of a dick at the end of this to kind of possibly soften the blow of what may or may not come in these next couple seasons. I really feel like they took the liberty, and you have to in a TV show because you're taking away that control. The video game gives you a lot more control, but I really do feel like they framed that ending much more harsher in the show than in the game, for obvious reasons, because he's doing a terrible thing, and you're
I don't
doing.
know if I agree
You're
with that.
doing it. I mean, he's like executing people. He's going up to like the way it's shot on all crooked angles to make him seem real sinister. Like, I think
but
they were
why
really
is that different from what you're doing in the game?
because you're with Joel. You are Joel. You understand why he's doing this, and you still do by the end of this. But like, you're just behind him. The camera's with you. You're taking out all these people. Like, to me, it didn't feel like as harsh. And obviously, Joel did a bad thing. And I think if you don't realize that by the end of The Last of Us Part 1, well, of course, there's gray areas in how you maybe define what is the good thing. But he probably shouldn't have killed an entire hospital full of people, right?
No, well, yeah.
So and executed that like I don't know. I feel like we realized going out of that like Joel is a flawed hero. He made the decision probably.
I don't think Joel's a hero at all.
No, I mean, sure. I guess it depends on how you
He's
how you
not.
look at it.
I don't think Joel's a hero at all.
He's the hero of his own story, Gooch. But anyways, that's a whole different thing. He is the hero in the fact of he did the thing that we wanted him to do by the end of the game. That's what we wanted, even though we knew it probably isn't the right thing. Right. In this, it feels like they really kind of wanted to set him up even more harshly as like a very, very flawed guy. And I think a way to do that, was there a connection between Marlene and Ellie in the game? Like they
Yes.
know each other from birth? Like that's the same thing? Or is it like...
Honestly, it seems like Marlene doesn't know Ellie in the show. Just the fact, like, Marlene seems to put Ellie in the Boston QZ,
Yeah.
and I think that's it.
So what
Yeah.
happens in the
game? They know each other pretty well.
Oh,
and
okay.
they know, and she knows that Marlene knows her mom.
Okay, so that is from the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I did not know if that was a change or not because, again, like I said, I have very sparse details about that. I had thought that they kind of added that subplot in more heavily and shown it more heavily to give it more weight because, like, I barely even remembered that from the game. And I feel like they did that.
Yeah, 'cause it's
to
only in the
kind of-
beginning.
Exactly, and I barely remembered it. But that's interesting. No, that actually reverses my thought of my feeling on that a little bit because I just didn't remember that connection at all. I thought Marlene just found Ellie when she was
No.
bit. And blah 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 blah, and then so on and so
I
forth.
wish the hospital scene was more brutal.
Really?
Yeah.
I really do
I-
because I remember the first time I did that. I'm like, this is absolutely chaotic. Like how many people you had to fight through to
For
get
sure,
to her.
yeah.
And like the slow mo and the crooked angle thing was nice, but I wish it was more of like again added a little bit more time.
Sure.
And just like really like emphasize how
How
much
meticulously he was fighting through this
And
hospital.
and the full like taking her and running and like actually escaping with her. That they dropped the ball on that. I wish, because that was, again, it was so impactful.
I kind of agree. I think if it was a longer trudge to get there, you really would have seen the lengths Joel is willing to go for the people he loves.
Yeah. Sure.
And I Neil Druckmann, I think, said this when The Last of Us 2 was coming out, that Last of Us Part 1 is a game about love, Last of Us Part 2 is a game about hate. And it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a very easy way to describe the two games. It doesn't matter if Joel's right or wrong. I don't like that like conversation of like, I understand if you think Joel is right or wrong, but like I think if as long as you understand why Joel's doing what he's doing, because he loves Ellie, because this is his second chance at a daughter and being a father, that's all you need to know. And yeah, I think like to your point, like the game, you are killing those doctors. You can choose to kill those nurses or not,
yeah.
but you can gun them all down. You can execute them.
I do it every time.
And like and like you don't feel like that's what you kind of have to do.
That's what I mean. Like if it'd be
like
playing
even
it
as
still
playing as
such
Joel.
a different feel. Like if it's weird because it's not a different feeling because.
I kind
You
of
know
get
what I
what
mean?
you're saying.
Like,
I do know what you mean.
How to put it into words.
When
I'm
you're
having such
watching
trouble.
it versus doing it.
Yes, yes.
And he takes Ellie out, and we don't see him running out of there, and then he gets down, but and deals with Marlene. But yeah,
That I don't have time for this line is in the game, right? When he shoots the first guy and he's like, "Where is she?"
Yeah. He
It's
interrogates
so
it.
great.
It's actually quicker in the game.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
quicker.
have fucking time for
Yeah,
this.
because he has his gun. He shoots him in the balls, and he has the gun in his balls, and he tells him in the game, and then he's like, I don't know, fucking time for this. Yeah,
So good.
This is really making. I will say they knew what and we said this even before the show came out, but they knew exactly what they were doing with that remake, and just now I do want to replay it, and guess what? I'll probably buy it used somewhere, and yes, I will play it. Because fuck you guys, you're not getting my money second time.
Gotta get that platinum trio.
But and even just to be able to do the screenshot like comparisons, like I do think it would have been interesting seeing like screenshots from the game, like the original game versus the show. Maybe they thought people would be like, "Oh, that makes the game look bad." So let's make sure we put out this re-release.
Like going back to the is Joel right or wrong thing, I've just been seeing that headline around, and I'm just like, I don't think you guys really understand this.
I disagree. I do think that's part of the fun of the end of this.
I think it's okay to have the conversation with yourself, but like to debate it,
Sure.
He's wrong. But he's right because he loves her, and it doesn't matter about anything else.
But again, that's using wrong and right. I get what you're. I agree.
He's a bad guy.
Yes.
He's not a hero. Joel's a bad dude. You know that from like the get go. He's not doing this because he loves Ellie in the beginning. He doesn't want anything to do with this. That's why he's giving over to Tommy, and why in the game it hits a little bit more because he just feels inconvenienced by this whole thing rather than having any emotion towards it.
And then you really see that kind of blossom. Again, I just wish we spent more time with them together.
Right, them fighting, or in the game where you're getting this dialogue just in your travels.
I felt
simply
like
gameplay.
For sure. I felt like the the episode where she's kidnapped felt like a bit of a fast track to get her to that like he ended with "I got you, baby girl," and all. And I welled up a little bit. I thought it was pretty good, but at the same time I felt like it was just kind of their way to push that relationship forward kind of more quickly to get it to seem like Joel would execute an entire hospital for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I guess I'm a little perturbed.
Yeah, just to nicely segue us back, Bill's town in the game.
Yeah.
That's a whole
Different
gameplay
thing.
segment, and it Bill's town is turned into Bill's block. That's what I call it, Bill's block.
Block.
And and he just lives in a house, and there's a few stores, and that's how he survives.
Traps and everything.
Yeah, where in the game, we're going through a whole gameplay segment of getting to Bill, finding the battery, and they have time to develop there. And that's kind of where it's like, this is where it works in the game, just because you have more time to develop. And in the show, you're not going to really okay, we have to add.
You just can't.
We have
in
to
certain
add
respects.
scenes to represent the gameplay, and it's like, well, I don't.
That's not what. See, that's
you
like
can't
old.
fluff it up.
See, that's old video game property ideas of like, we are making a Doom movie, right? Yes, first person camera shots.
Halo in the last episode, first
I'm sorry, I
person
should have
scene.
brought up the
first person.
They
scene.
still hadn't learned that by 2022. Anyway, yeah.
But what did you guys think about the differences with Bill? I know, like, I think everyone unanimously enjoyed it, but it was such a like that was really, I think, one of the biggest changes from the game.
No, for sure. Listen, I think it works in the context of we really don't know much about Bill. Like, you hear about Fred right at one point in the game, and it's like a note you find from him, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. That's really
and
it.
you see it, you find his body.
Oh,
Yeah.
you do
And-
find his
And
body.
they were
Okay.
definitely lovers.
Yeah.
in the game. They are even.
But they hate each other.
Well, in the game,
'Cause
they,
in the
they
game it
say
always
partner, but like,
so
you,
is it like okay?
you think it's no? So
Interesting.
you think it's his partner, like hanging out,
Yes,
but then Ellie at the end has like his like nudie guy magazine. You're like, oh, he's gay.
Yeah.
I
Like,
did
was
not
like-
know that. I had no idea.
It's kind of
okay,
like
so I didn't know if they just
it's like
kind
an
of,
opposite like multiverse thing where like in this multiverse, Bill and Frank are together, but they don't like each other.
That's
they
so
learn to
interesting.
not like each
okay,
other.
so I thought they did make up that whole new subplot like for it, like not with Fred. I knew Fred existed.
Frank.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep saying Fred. But that's interesting to know. I really would not have known that. I just assumed he kind of expounded upon something that he was just maybe sort of implied. But no, that's cool. That's very cool. I like that a lot. But overall, that episode was very well done and just, what's his name? Who plays Bill?
Fuck.
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman,
I mean, he
yeah.
carries it. He's so good. I really
What
did
a
enjoy
great
it.
little role for him.
No, for sure.
I know. Yeah,
Right?
I think he did great. I kind of wanted a little bit more attitude from him because Bill is a
Bit of a
asshole.
jerk, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
and
such
him-
an asshole.
I agree.
Again, another thing we miss, him and Ellie's little dumb banters.
Which
They're funny.
I was so excited about that, and then
Yeah.
so that was I was like still too attached to the game at that episode, and the whole time I'm like, where's nothing's happening?
Yeah.
It's just love. Why is this all love? And at the end, I'm like,
What about the hate?
I was like, and then the window shot, I'm like, oh, that killed me. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, that was really well done.
Yeah,
But
just-
then that kind of taught me to kind of like stay away.
Ease your
from, like-
expectations a
Yeah,
little, yeah.
just watch it for what it is. So then when I started thinking of it like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, it was a great episode.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like you could have shaved a half hour, and we could have used that half hour to build the Joel and Ellie relationship.
Sure.
Post that episode.
Right.
I did like the changes of how they just like, this is just, this is Bill's story from, start to end kind of thing. I thought that was great. And other than that, like, I really wish I really wish they could have had a little bit of like the Ellie Bill banter, but it wouldn't have worked because like you kind of see how after him and Frank like become like something, he just really softens up and it would have not worked at all.
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
have matched.
But I did like the lunch scene where he was just sitting there with the
That was good. He's like dressed up.
Yeah.
I thought that
It was good. I
hilarious.
like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
I did kind of forget about Tess a little bit.
I
And I
was
mean,
gonna
I don't
mention
really.
her, but
Yeah, I mean, it's
Oh, man,
it's
yeah.
adapted well. She's acted well. Like I think there's a few changes here and there, but like
so she
nothing-
was. When did they meet? Like, how long had they been together at that point? Do we know? Joel and
I think
Tess.
like it was like 5 to 10 years. Maybe?
Okay,
Yeah,
so a
and
good
the-
chunk.
and the-
So
there
for a
is
good chunk.
the implication that they're like lovers.
Yeah,
is-
that's kind
remains
of what I.
intact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would've
but
said-
friends with Benny's. At
Right.
least.
Again, they don't get into it, and I like that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Joel.
We're not about that love. On
Joel
this
is a
episode,
hard
all right?
motherfucker, and he doesn't have time for no romance.
I just feel like I really like the actress that played Tess, and I thought Tess was done
Anna
really well.
Torv.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's her name. Haley's like, oh, I love her. I'm like, I don't know what the hell she's in, but
Who dat? Yeah.
But Tess in the game was a little bit more of a badass, and I kind of really,
I actually would agree with that.
really wanted that, but it still worked out.
Yeah, and I feel like I do remember in the first, like at the beginning of the game when she's dealing with that, like the guy who's supposed to give him the battery.
Robert.
She's a lot more. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. I
She's
wish I
all
could speak.
She got her ass beat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she does get her ass beat.
I'm thinking just because of the cameos. Why didn't they bring back fucking what's the guy who plays Robert in the game? Who's Chaz? What's his name?
Oh shit, I don't know.
I'm googling it.
We're getting Google.
We're getting down the weeds here.
Robert Downs, because like I think it would have just been funny because it's such a small role and he's just such a like noticeable voice actor, I think that would have just been funny to bring him back and be like, you want to like be Robert and die in an episode? like sure, because like Laura Bailey reprises a role as the nurse at the end of the game. She's
great.
a lot of side characters in The Last of Us 1, which is funny
is
because
funny.
she's Abby in 2.
Yeah.
And she's like, she is that nurse, that same fucking nurse. And then obviously we did talk about Troy Baker being James, Ashley Johnson,
Which was cool. I
playing
like that he
Anna.
was like he wasn't like a main character, but he got a good chunk of screen time.
And
Yeah,
Meryl
yeah,
Dandridge, Meryl Dandridge, is that her name?
I don't know.
She reprises her role as Marlene.
yeah.
She's the only character to.
Oh,
reprise
really?
her
That's
role.
the same actor.
Same actor.
That's really cool.
Pretty interesting. I mean,
Actually.
again, she's like a small character, so I kind of like. I guess I understand if they were.
Well,
like,
that
why
was
don't we
probably
just
an
get
easy
her?
one for Druckmann to be like, no, I want her. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah,
Everyone
something.
else,
Well, we'll
I
get them
get
in
it.
there somehow, but yeah, I get that we can't have.
Especially because like
Someone
she,
as
you
Ellie or
know,
whatever, yeah.
her character is like pretty one to one.
Yeah,
Actually,
exactly.
how she looks.
Yep.
But anyway, I totally tangent us. We were talking about Bill. I didn't know if there was anything else.
No, not really. I think that was handled very well, and I think it was, just a great episode, a great heartfelt episode. I do wish it had a little bit more zombies and Ellie and Joel, but yeah, I can only
A little
echo.
bit more raiders or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Just fighting.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
general.
Again, it's like they really took we got to take the gameplay
You know what
out of it to heart, like pretty
and,
hard.
Well, and not even. I just think they had a budget and they spent it in the right spots, and I think they did kind of maybe pull back from the infected as much to focus more on the. This show felt so fucking real. Like I didn't feel like we were on a soundstage for the most part. I didn't feel like we were in the volume or whatever.
Where I felt it was in episode 2, where they're walking out of the Boston QZ. And they're on, I guess, like a Boston Turnpike or highway, and like the skyline. I'm like, this is so
volume
fake.
or the fuck.
Yeah. It's like
But-
it's a little odd.
Yeah, but
you know,
I do
I'm
think
not
for the
giving a
most
shit.
no, for sure. But I do think for the most part, it felt like a lived-in real world, which is key in a
Yeah.
fucking show too.
Well,
And
they
set
just
stuff it
they
went
just
to, is it?
released like the making of the show. I just
they
watched,
did?
I
Oh, is
just
it on
watched
Netflix
it today.
or on HBO?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on HBO
You know what
Max.
I'm gonna, you know what I'm
you.
gonna watch too? The Grounded documentary that they made when they
That's
made
also
the first
fantastic.
one. Yeah.
But yeah, like to show like how much of this is practical is very impressive, and the giraffe is real.
You know what's so
I was
funny?
like, I was so
I
happy.
was thinking, I'm like, this could be CGI, but this could be real. I know giraffes have really long tongues.
I saw someone tweet, like, and it was a pretty funny joke. I thought it was some guy being like, "This is the worst CGI I've ever seen," and it's a follow-up tweet from being like, "It was a real fucking giraffe," and then and it was someone being like, "We can't have CGI conversations anymore because people can't tell what a real giraffe is," or something like that. But no, and I do think
pretty funny. It
But I
is.
do think part of that also comes from the background. Like if it's against a green screen, even though it's real, it still will kind of look a little. What's going? Like
yeah,
you know,
you could tell.
your
like,
eyes like
there's
something is off.
Yeah,
here.
you can
like, I don't know
definitely
if it's
tell.
the giraffe or what's going on, but yeah.
But it was still. It
was a real ass giraffe.
It was.
So-
It was impressive.
It
like
was.
that. Like because like the big key moments in that game. I think they nailed every single
Yeah.
one of them, and like, because every episode I had tears in my eyes. I'm
For
like,
sure.
oh, and it's because I'm like, I pretty much know the dialogue. I know the dialogue,
Sure.
the ones that they did line for line.
Yeah.
And when they started doing, it, I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm like fuck yeah, let's
and
go.
I think that's what makes like, imagine if they changed all the dialogue up. It wouldn't, even if they adapted the plot the same, I think it would have been weird. Like
And
again,
yeah.
I'm glad they decided to keep the speech when she says, "I sure as hell ain't your daddy." Like that whole monologue is great. That's scene for scene, or line for line.
I will say,
and it, like there's plenty of other parts. The ending
sure.
is a little different, but kind of the same.
Basically the same, yeah.
The important parts are the
Definitely.
same. But yeah, I think what if they just changed all that? Like it would have, like
well,
you know,
and I agree. I think like certain games, like
I guess you don't
like
have
my
the
almighty
iconic,
Sonic, you can't translate that 1-to-1. You can't.
Gotta go fast.
You gotta. You gotta just take the elements, the notable elements of the story and things like that.
yeah, but
and
Sonic,
translate it.
Sonic doesn't have dialogue.
And you
so-
can't,
No, but that's what I'm saying. No,
you
but
can't
that's
leave out "Get over here."
You guys
from
aren't
Scorpion
letting
in
me
Mortal
finish my
Kombat.
point. I'm saying like with
Oh,
this.
sorry.
No, it's. I get that's what I'm saying.
I'm
like,
just trying to
with
shoot
Last
down
of Us-
Sonic as
No,
much as
it's-
I can.
Don't talk about my Lord and Savior. With this is something you can adapt 1-to-1, and that you should, and that was made so well and talked about so much
You're
that
right.
you would
They-
be
they-
dumb.
they
to,
gave him the
you
blueprint.
were handed a
Yeah.
silver platter of a
Yeah.
story,
Yeah, you're right.
and they did the right thing of following that story, and thankfully they kept the main creators in to shepherd that.
Thank God they didn't cast Mark Wahlberg as Joel.
No, absolutely. And it's funny because like if this show moves forward at HBO without Neil Druckmann as a head writer, I don't think we get what this is.
No, we don't.
We get
We
like
don't.
apparently they were trying to do an anthology movie like show set in the world of Last of Us at one point, and Druckmann like shut that down.
Yeah, again, like that's
it's-
not what people want.
No, this
They
is
just
the
they
thing
just
that
want to
you
see what they had. And
when I see my Lord and Savior Sonic run down Rainbow Road, I'm sorry, not Rainbow Road, the Green Hill Trail. It doesn't have to be exactly like it is from the game. You just have to take those elements that make it recognizable.
like with Halo.
Yeah.
Why Halo decided to not adapt the first game is beyond me.
Yeah.
I
And
would
again,
underst-
you can change that a little bit. But
right, you can change it a little bit, but they're just like, we're just gonna do this totally different plot that we're not even gonna respect
it's a
the
setup
lore.
to the plot for some reason that you don't like. They're trying
We
to
don't
set up
need.
the
It's
first.
like we had that. It's called Reach.
and it's weird because sometimes that
know,
like,
like,
yeah, for sure,
it literally-
like that could have been it. That could have been the show, but that does work. Like with other properties, that sometimes does work really well. Where the whole first season of Jupiter's
Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, Jupiter Ascending is like before the comic series, and I actually like that because it kind of sets up what happens in the main comic series. Preacher, the first whole season is not the comic at all. The second season is really the first
Okay, I didn't know
comic
that.
series.
I've seen that.
Yes, and so like I think you can almost do something there, but if Druckmann is involved and he has a full-handed force in it, but if you try and have just HBO whoever make that without really any guiding hand, and they're like, but this is in the Last of Us universe, you're obviously not going to get what you're looking for. At least what we're looking for sure.
I don't know. Like I couldn't really see like anything like bigwig, like producer or whatever, like having their hands on, because Craig
I agree.
Mason. Like I watched all like the behind the scenes after every episode,
Yeah,
and just
same.
seeing
Yep.
just seeing how he like would bring up these changes to Druckmann, and Druckmann was like, oh great, so like you can tell that
they had a good relationship.
Oh
And
yeah,
he knew
yeah.
the game.
and
That's awesome.
he's like,
Yeah.
I do not want it. The last thing I want to do is ruin this show.
Well, that's fantastic. Seriously, that is fantastic.
Did you listen to the
hear.
podcast?
no, I haven't done that.
Okay,
yet.
I mean, it's not like, I think the behind the scenes is a very obviously shortened version of like those
Yeah,
kind of conversations. Troy hosts it, so it's with Craig and
Yeah, I did see
Druckmann.
that.
Yeah, and they were pretty good, and I liked listening to Troy have the context of him being Joel, and two, like Craig being a fan but producing it, and then Neil being the creator. It was a good,
It was a perfect storm.
collaboration of people. Where it's like, okay, I don't know if the dude directing Uncharted like played the games. Like it's clear that Craig Mazin played The Last of Us and is a fan of it, to the point where he can also like recite lines and know stuff.
And again, I will say, I do think and I don't know, I shouldn't say this, I'm not an Uncharted guy, so I don't know anything about the story. I do feel like the exact narrative is more important in The Last of Us, whereas I think you could take
Right,
the
I
character
agree
of
with you.
Nathan Drake and put that in a different story, but you have to still have the same Nathan.
Well,
It
I
still has
did
to
it,
be,
they
like,
fucked it up.
That's what, what
I
I'm saying
won't
is-
let go Mark Wahlberg being Sully.
No,
I'm sorry.
well, you know who
It
he was.
is
You
a
know who he was
travesty.
supposed to be?
Oh.
Nathan Drake, because it was in development for 10
Doesn't
years.
matter. Mark Wahlberg is
No, I
one
know.
character.
Oh no, I know. I'm joking.
Where's
What
the
are we-
treasure?
No, it's
What are we doing?
And now I'm on Tinder.
It's it's Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg playing Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. And
Exactly.
and apparently it worked, and it made them a lot of money. But I think you can take the exact characterization of Nathan Drake and translate that faithfully into a new story, like with certain other characters. But you need to still maintain that same character
Oh,
and
yeah,
what that is.
absolutely, yeah.
Whereas like this is such a specific story that I want to see. You know what I mean? And I'm sure don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are Uncharted fans out there who want to see the exact first game recreated in the films, maybe to this fine of a point. But yeah, hey, Paramount, Halo, keep an eye out. Maybe you should take some notes. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like, just-
really take some fucking.
You know
notes.
what's sad about that too? It's getting a second season. It was
Oh,
very
Jesus
successful, and that's why I did. It does kind of. I hear people be like, "That show didn't do anything. It's not good." I'm like, guys, it's coming back. Like people,
Yeah,
wow, like
yeah,
I
we're
don't know
getting
what
a
to tell you.
second season.
You might be mad, but unfortunately, it did well enough. Apparently,
Wow.
yeah. So
I didn't know how much of our toes we wanted to dip back into, like not going over each episode, but talking about, like, I know we mentioned Ham and Senry. That's what I was about
Ham
to
and
say.
Senry.
Ham and Senry.
Sam and Henry. Like I know, like in the game it's in Pittsburgh, but now we're in Kansas City, which is fine, I guess.
It did make me hate that episode.
We
though.
get our the Tommy cameo. His voice actor plays that main bearded soldier guy.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You must have missed
You're
these.
learning a lot.
I haven't played The Last of Us Part
Well,
1
I just-
in probably 5 or 6 years.
The
It's been a while.
actor who played Tommy, I just had to throw that in there. He did phenomenal.
Yeah.
He
Cool
was the
role.
dude that
Yeah.
like talked to Anna or whatever, or no, I'm sorry, am I getting it confused with a different episode? He's the bearded man.
No, you're getting confused with characters. I don't know.
The guy
I don't-
that
I
had
don't-
the
I don't
machine
remember.
gun
I don't
and-
remember.
He,
the
it was a
woman's
very
name.
quick. He didn't have many
No,
lines. Oh,
he
okay.
had a lot of lines.
Yeah, he had lines.
Oh, so he was.
It was
the,
during the bloater episode where they were
Okay,
like,
yes,
yeah,
he
He's
was
where
the
they're trying
main
to find-
soldier. How could you
yeah.
not
Okay.
forget that
Yeah.
beard, man?
no, that's what I thought
was
you were
like
talking
Tyler.
about. I'm just confirming. That's
Yeah.
that makes sense.
But he
Interesting.
was talking. I forget that character's name. It's not Anna.
He's the one who goes like, "Listen, your brother was cool and all,
Right.
but yeah, okay,
Yeah.
all right."
Yeah.
Thank you both.
And like in the game, like Sam and Henry they're running from raiders. They're not running from a group they like betrayed. I think they just happen to be crossing through, and they're also at the hands of these people, just like Joel and Ellie are. Like, and that's again that's a plot line that the show decided to create about Sam and Henry and give them more context and give the people of Kansas City / Raiders more context of like, okay, like they overthrew Fedra, whereas we have the juxtaposition of like, look at Boston and Fedra's kind of successful there.
Yeah.
It's not. I guess
There's fireflies, but
they,
people are
they
still.
got their issues in the. We haven't even talked about the Fireflies. They got their issues with the Fireflies and the Raiders, but like they seem to be established well.
And a very-
whereas
I'm sorry.
in Kansas City, they're totally overthrown.
Yeah.
And one thing of like when I'm talking to people, especially as they're not the game players, I'm like, do you think the Fireflies are good people? And usually they say yeah, and I'm like, rethink that.
Well, because I really don't think the Fireflies get much context in this show.
They don't get
And
much
I think
context
that's
in the
like-
game though. But like,
Yeah, that's
it's
true. But
clear
do you
they're not.
think it's equal to? I mean, you hear about their terrorism. You hear about how they use firebombs and stuff.
I think-
and they seem to be assholes, especially
I think,
in that different place.
with,
But
with the Left Behind episode where like she finds
Riley
the
with the
bomb,
pipe bombs.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that's
that
They're
is actually
radicalizing
for sure
her.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
I like that was a
was
good
not in the
touch.
game.
was
that
a
wasn't.
that was
So
a
I never
great
played
touch.
Left Behind. So that's interesting to know. I didn't know that.
So in Left Behind, it's pretty much
It's that, yeah.
It's to the T. I think the girl who played Riley, she was a bit too serious. I think Riley in
Interesting.
Left Behind is a little more low key. Like
Sure.
they're kind of on the
And she
same
seemed
level.
younger in the game. She
Yeah.
seemed
Yeah.
a little bit younger.
I
Yeah.
will say with it was Arkansas. They were where they were.
Kansas City.
Kansas City. They kind of do foreshadow what's coming, and it was funny because my
what
roommate
do you mean?
with the Henry storyline. I was watching it again with my roommate as he was watching it, and the woman's yelling like when she's talking about why she knows why he did it for the medicine and stuff like that, and she's like, "It's just one kid, Henry. What is one kid's life against the amount of people here?" And I
yeah,
was
good
like,
catch. Okay.
"Ooh, that's
Yeah.
there's
I
a
didn't even
through
think of that.
line."
Obviously, I know
And
what
it's like
happens.
it's
I didn't think
definitely
about that.
for sure, but it was just funny. I was like, "Oh, that's definitely kind of a throw forward to the idea of like."
Ellie,
It's just
yeah.
one thing. It's just one person, Ellie, against the whole fucking world. It's kind of interesting for sure. So that whole subplot is not in there. They're just running away from raiders.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chaz.
What up? I actually thought that was my favorite change was that whole story of
Yeah.
Ham and Henry.
Hammond, Senry,
Adam Sandler, yeah.
Because that was one of my favorite that where Sam is infected and Henry kills himself. That like was so effective. I'm just
I was
like
gonna say,
when
yeah.
it just cuts to black and it's just like
That was
the
one
next
of the
season. I'm like, what the fuck? Like blew my mind.
The season change title card, like it's
No, I agree. That
Yeah.
was probably one of the most impactful shots.
Yeah, so for them to like create a whole episode on just that, I thought was great. And like, I really liked how much time they spent with Sam and Ellie in the room where she like tries to heal him.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm getting
Yeah.
chills just thinking about
yeah,
that.
like very different, but again, very effective.
I
for
she
She was
different
really
reasons.
good also, Bella, when she was afraid. Like in that moment,
Yeah.
she seemed genuinely terrified. Like I
Yeah.
thought that was very
Yeah.
well acted for sure. But yeah, no.
yeah,
fucking
I
heart-dropping
think
scene.
that was my favorite episode. Like it was my favorite
Yeah.
episode.
I actually agree.
When it happened, and then throughout, I'm like, no, I think the David episode. That's one of my favorite moments in the game. But there was
Yeah,
a lot of things missing that I'm like, I
That
wish.
Sam and Henry twist is pretty not twist, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess it is a twist. What happens at the end and like how, like Sam turns and Henry just kills himself. Like it's so quick. Like I'm talking about in the context of the game.
Yeah.
It's like whoa, and then it's a few months later, and instead of in the show it's a few months later, but I guess they're farther along into winter and it's actually snowing, and then we actually something that they did not successfully implement in The Last of Us 1. They wanted to do Jackson. Neil Druckmann was talking about how they had concepts for Jackson. You were originally not going to go to the water dam because you go to the water dam and that's where you meet Tommy and Maria. And you know, you never go to Jackson in part 1. But in the show, we do. We go see Jackson, and that's like a little taste of part 2.
Which I thought was great.
But it was cool because Neil was like, yeah, this is something we got to actually do when we wanted to do it originally, but we ran out of time. Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's funny. I wish we had more screen time with Tommy.
Me too.
Again, that's where I do think this show just needed a bit more time. I don't usually say that.
Maria stuff in the movie and how she kind of like understands Ellie's a girl and taking care of her with the menstrual cup and the other like the girl shit that Joel definitely doesn't know about, or I guess maybe probably just doesn't care about.
No, he probably doesn't know. He's an old Southern boy.
I mean, he had a daughter.
Of course, you know. Yeah, of course. I'm being
I hear it.
But yeah.
Yeah, and like I like Maria in part 2, so I'm interested to see that. But yeah, I didn't like how adversarial Joel and Tommy were in the show. Like I liked how like they kind of like fight in the game, like, but it's not like you don't feel like they're mad at each other. Like you feel like when Joel leaves, they're kind of mad at each other a little bit.
By the end of this one,
yeah,
really, I actually kind of thought it came back around for me, like in the way.
I mean,
by the end, especially when he has,
yeah,
for sure. I don't know. I definitely think he was. They definitely
Tommy
had
seems
super
to be
standoff.
pissed at Joel for like killing people.
Really, I think it seemed like Tommy was pissed at Joel for just acting the way he did when he came in, and I think he did not want. I don't think he was like mad at him. I didn't take it that way. I took it more as like he's like being around that is dragging me is like almost like a poison
I've
to
changed,
me,
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where I don't think Tommy in the game is like I've changed, and
he's like, no, I'm still killing people.
The kid dynamic is in that as well, where Maria's pregnant, and that's not in the game at all. So that's like a totally new thing.
Yeah,
interesting. I didn't have anything to say. I'm sorry.
And unless we wanted to dip into the David stuff, I mean, I think I talked about enough. I know you were mentioning you had some things you didn't like about that.
Well, yeah, the non-infected part that you were talking about.
Right.
That was honestly that was the biggest thing. And
and then with the when he gets hurt.
What do you mean?
When Joel gets hurt. He gets impaled with like the baseball bat handle instead of
the
rebar. The rebar was
that again rushed. They're like, all right, we got to get him hurt or whatever.
Yeah, we're not going to.
And in a way that would make sense for him to be up in a couple. Like I don't know, how long is Ellie supposed to be there? We don't.
So from what the game gives us, I think it's like a month.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Left Behind, which I Left Behind is brilliant because it kind of like it flashes.
They slot it
it's
in
like present
correctly
and flashback. So you kind of like do stuff and then it shows like. You know, stuff that's happening in the present from the past.
Left Behind is exactly like it is in the show. This is the in-between and Ellie's flashing back.
Yeah, and Ellie goes to a mall
Okay.
or whatever to find medicine instead of just going in the house. Again, rushed. I was so hoping like there would be something where it was like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was kind of just like I said, just needed more time in every episode because it just like let me down a little bit in certain
for
things.
Sure.
But the key moments in every episode, good. They nailed.
Maybe that's where the logistics of it do come in, where they're like, listen, we're giving you, we trust you, but we're giving you only this amount of money. I'm wondering how like episodes work, where it's like, all right, we have this much amount of money, we're gonna do this many episodes, or it's like, no, we're only giving you a 10 episode slot. Here's your money, figure it out. And I'm curious to see if they would have liked to maybe extend it more, or maybe made this 2 seasons, or there's deleted scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, we know season 2 or like part 2 is going to be multiple seasons apparently from what they're saying.
Yeah, they did confirm that.
Well, they got it because that game is long.
How much longer is that?
A lot longer.
Really?
Yeah, it's at least 20.
Like twice as long, would you say?
I would say like 20 to 30 hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And just not to jump ahead, but like what I don't like about that is like just give me a long season 2. I don't like the fact because I think I'm like season 2,
season 1,
2.
season 2, yeah,
part
2, part 1.
It can be like, and I said in Discord yesterday, you can join that in the description if you would like.
Absolutely.
They reference Well, I was like, okay, well, we can do like a 14 to 18 episode season. Why the fuck not? Just split it in two. I think it would
Truthfully,
work.
I don't know if HBO does that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how long is like Game of Thrones. 10 episodes?
10. Same
I
with
feel
House
like
of
It
the
used to
Dragon.
back in the day, man.
Was it
Didn't
12?
fucking
13,
matter.
13 episodes?
Sopranos is like 13. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 13.
All of them
Okay.
are pretty
Yeah,
much
so I'm wondering
13.
if that, yeah.
Maybe they got a thing, but like, who cares?
I
Who
completely
fucking cares?
agree. No, I do.
Not that the season needs to be 24 episodes long, but
does it?
I do want to talk about some of the more part 2 stuff. But
I think we should not touch that at all.
really,
Yeah. I do. Because I think.
I kind of just want to.
Because I'm afraid, one, we're going to slip. Two, because I don't know.
Wait, real quick. Let's talk about
apologize.
the actual end, like the
Yes.
last scene,
Sure,
the
sure.
epilogue portion of it. I mean, it's adapted 1-to-1, was there not?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
It was great.
Yeah, it was
end.
great. Yeah. No, it was awesome. And I mean, I think,
don't
like,
know, there's nothing to say.
was he as like chatty near that he's talking about his daughter and stuff in the game
Yeah,
and stuff like
and
that? It did.
in the game, it's the same way.
It is the
Joel
exact same way?
Joel is just like really a chatterbox,
Okay,
and
all
now
right,
he's
yeah.
like, yeah, huh? What?
yeah. Okay.
And the Chef Boyardee thing's kind of funny. That was a
Yeah.
callback to like
Yeah.
the first episode, and and then they go through like the tents, and Joel's opening up a little bit. The new part,
yeah. When
him
so that
committing
is
suicide.
attempting
Yeah,
to commit
Attempts
suicide.
to commit suicide.
So yeah, I meant to ask if that was in the game too.
No.
I didn't think so. I didn't
No
think
scar.
so.
No, they missed out too with the whole, which I thought was a beautiful scene in the game, but they missed it out with the Tommy thing. Was like, oh, I got a picture of you and your daughter.
yeah,
He's like, I'm
the
good.
soccer picture.
And Ellie grabs it and then gives it to him, and in the bus station, and then he like accepts it from her.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
a trick.
That's such a,
Yeah, you missed a trick with that one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
So, yeah, I really wish that was there, because that shows more of like the bond, you know. And
Yes,
then one
The
like
gift,
then
yeah.
then it shows more of like why he did it in the hospital kind of thing.
right.
I agree. 100%.
But yeah, like obviously in the game, like they're underground and it's flooded with bus. Like, yeah, that would have been too much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I
for
agree.
sure.
That's where the
I
gameplay
kind of
being
like
cut.
how they did it with like, you know, the flashbang, and then they took her and then knocked
Dude.
him out and stuff.
I flashbangs in fucking media are ridiculous. The guards who threw that would also be
I know.
flashbangs. like, dude, they're fucking loud.
Yeah.
They're not okay.
You need to be much further away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let
funny.
me say this is spoilers for part 2. I just want to say something.
All right.
And it's not about part 2. It's really about how we received part 2.
Oh, sure.
Last of Us Part 2 is probably one of the most controversial games of all time.
Yeah.
People loved that game. People hated that game. People were in the middle of that game. And I think we actually represent
Well, yeah, there's a pretty
that entire
yeah.
sphere. Trio
Yeah.
hating it, Chaz loving it, I being in the middle of it. I'm real. It's that part 2 is so tonally different. Again, part 1 is about love. Part 2 is about hate, the cycles of hatred and revenge. That's all part 2 is about. It's not nice. It's not a nice game. It's very depressing, very dark. I'm just interested to see, like, obviously, like, everyone liked the game and the show. I'm interested to see how people will like part 2, watching Ellie become this killing machine and this monster that she becomes.
It's
It's going to be interesting
because like
it's going to be really interesting. Are people
you can
going to
go back
turn
and
on
watch
it?
our Last of Us 2 review
Yeah.
if you would like to get our full broad thoughts on that. Listen, I think if you enjoyed the show, I'd say tune out at this point. I think you should play it because
Yeah,
I do
if
want to
you
get
haven't played the game,
just
I
get
don't-
out of
yeah,
here,
yeah,
please.
you-
I
you
really
don't
just
need to
don't
hear
want to
this.
Go on,
fucking.
get
Thanks,
out of
good
here.
night. Thanks for
We appreciate
watching,
your
you
watch.
fucker.
If you could drop us a like, of course, that always helps. But I truly do think they framed Joel harsher in order to make the greater public accept that a little bit more. And I think that's why they drove home the Marlene connection to him not being the only connecting tissue to Ellie and all that stuff. Like he had the right to do what he did to a degree. Anyways, I kind of think he does, but there's a bit more ambiguity to it. And maybe, I don't know. I'm curious to see what the regular people feel about his decision at the end. Because I know whether or not the plebs. No,
Yeah, the plebs. The non-gamers.
the non-gamers, like the people who don't know this story, like how do you feel about Joel after this? Like, it's not
Yeah.
really a question of did he do the right thing or not. I guess that's kind of
I
part of
agree.
it.
I find the opinions of the non gamers are the most
Feed them The
interesting.
Last of Us. Yes.
If you didn't play the game, I would love to hear.
yeah,
what you have
please
to think
drop a
about this
comment.
show.
Well, I guess it's too late now because we told you all.
Well,
to go
if you're
you haven't
still
played it.
here, you can still drop a comment.
Like, did you like Joel? Did you think, were you with him by the end, or were you like, nah, fuck this guy? Actually, I don't know. I'm so genuinely curious.
And I guess it all depends if if you're a parent or not, because like him losing his daughter and just becoming, who
Absolutely.
he became, and then having that connection, like, oh, she's like my daughter now.
absolutely.
And like, I mean, I'm finding out next month, but when I have
absolutely.
a kid,
Yeah.
but from what I hear with parents, like they will literally do anything to save
Exactly.
their children.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
So,
I was thinking
I'm
about.
with Joel. I'm Team Joel.
I am also
100%.
Team Joel.
Hell
High
yeah.
five.
Let's go,
Yeah.
Team Joel.
I was thinking about you because one, you were coming on to do the podcast, but two, I'm like, dude, Chaz is going to be a father in a little bit.
My favorite
to
meme.
a girl.
Yeah. My favorite meme is like, as a father. Like, I really felt. It's just as a father. I can't remember.
I
the
tried
thing,
to
but
push Ellie as the name, and my wife
She wasn't having it.
She's like,
You know,
because of that game. I'm like, yeah,
but it's a good.
But it'd be
my,
great.
You know, it's so funny.
I'll change my name to Joel. It'll be great.
My niece's name is Elle, and we just call her Ellie all the time.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. No,
I
it's a
love
good, that's a
it.
good name, just regardless.
Yeah, I know.
Chaz, do you have any part 2 comments? I mean, I don't want to force you to talk about it, but
I'm
Are you hopeful they adapt it as faithfully as this?
yes.
So-
I hope it's 1-for-1. I hope
Yeah.
they don't change it up. I hope they don't do what
They don't get
your
cold
buddy
feet.
was
Tom,
saying. I was
yeah.
hoping they don't do it in his direction. I'm like, no, do it the way it's supposed to be, because I want people to be as pissed off as I was when that part happened.
It would be funny if they lose half their viewership the next
so
week.
if anything, I could see them changing, doing what Tom said, and not changing what happens, but changing
doing it like
the way
a-
it's displayed.
Yeah.
more linear,
yeah, going back
orally.
and forth between two characters.
But like that, because if it's as faithful as it is to the game, spoiler alert, Pedro's not gonna be there that long. He's gonna only have a couple scenes,
and that's
and I want people to experience that, because when I experienced that, I was like,
No, because I
holy
think you're right.
shit.
That really does fully change the experience of that scene.
And that's
Yeah.
why I think Bella Ramsey needs to be a better actor, because
Sure.
she will be carrying the show.
I will say I think she's fine. But
Oh,
I get what you're saying. I get what you
she
mean.
becomes a more
She needs-
serious character
I agree.
Yeah, like
that's my
I actually replayed it last year just for fun.
too.
Yeah, and I was just upset the entire. I'm like, I'm just depressed.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's a
is
sad
It
fucking
takes,
game.
It takes a lot to play that fucking
I've been
game.
genuinely thinking about trying to give it another shot, just to be like, because
Yeah,
listen,
go for the platinum.
mechanically,
you know? Play it. Get the
mechanically, that
collectibles.
game is so much fun to play, and it's so fine tuned, and I will give them 100% credit on
yeah,
that.
so good.
It plays like butter.
I have to
But-
admit, I missed the prone in part 1.
Oh yeah. While you're playing
yeah,
part
yeah.
one,
So in the
yeah.
part
yeah.
1 remake, they don't have the prone, which I was kind of surprised, right? You think they would add that into the game, but maybe it would just change the whole
Sure.
game
It
up,
would.
Yeah.
because
No,
it
I
doesn't
agree.
account for the rest of the game. Won't
No,
account
that's
for you
very
being
true.
prone.
But yeah, I just, you're right. The way they the order in which they tell that story, the non-linear fashion, really
It's impactful.
it's impactful and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And it even
Especially
confused me at some
you're
points, but
playing the game, not watching it.
and you're kind of
playing.
piecing together what's going on, and you're like, oh, this is
important.
before this, or we're now here, and this is what led up to that. So that will be a big difference, but I don't know, man.
That's what I'm saying, man.
They have to commit to it.
Like,
but-
could you imagine if like the whole audience just turns, like going to loving to hating it, just kind of like some fans did of the game.
Yeah, and just
like
the
the conversation around part 2 was just so, not that it was toxic, but it was so.
It was exhausting.
It was
Here's how they
divisive.
do it.
It was divisive.
Season 1 ends at the theater with Abby, and it just cuts, and then part 2 starts, and it's just Abby, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? So everyone's just pissed, like what is
again,
this?
That's crazy.
I
to think
want them
about.
to do that. I want
remember-
misery.
I would like the commitment to the bit. I respect that.
I will say, like, it's just I never remember being so angry while playing a game.
Right?
Like, I was
And
like,
but
you know what I mean? Like,
but
like when you're playing as Abby fighting Ellie, and I'm like, let me die.
I want
Let
like
me
this.
die. Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
go ahead.
And here's the thing, like I've thought about part 2 a lot, and I think I hate those parts, like what you're just saying, like hating playing as Abby. But I think that what makes the games good is it's so different.
That was my point.
like
That's why I love it so much.
And I
'cause
think I've aged on that a little better. And it's like, what a ballsy decision.
It's a
What
ballsy
a
decision, but I
move.
Ball
still
move,
didn't.
Cotton.
Like,
And again, what if the show, like Chad just said, we were just Abby for like 5 episodes with no
I
addressing
think actually
Ellie.
people might accept that less because we got so much less time with Ellie to begin with in this. But I don't know, maybe not for the people who are just coming in, the plebs who don't know anything. They might just be like, okay, you know,
don't know.
maybe it's
we've been
actually
through.
easier to accept for them because we haven't gotten as much time with Ellie, and maybe because we aren't as emotional. Like we have a very strong emotional tie to Ellie, but
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think nearly as, and again, different mediums. I got to keep restating that, but the same connection I just did not feel by the end of The Last of Us Part 1. That same impact, and maybe that will affect people's thought process. But everyone did love Joel, so I don't.
I mean, everyone loves Pedro Pascal. He's a daddy.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah, that's right.
he's your daddy.
He's my daddy. Yeah.
Yep.
Anywho, on that note, is there anything else about The Last of Us Season 1, gentlemen, that we can discuss?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the spores.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep
sorry.
You can bring up.
I
the sports.
apologize.
Sports?
The sports.
spores.
Yes, the
Oh, the
sports. What
spores.
happened to the sporting events during the plague? No.
Well, yeah, they talk about football. Remember? In the
God
game.
damn it. But so were you guys
Yeah.
annoyed that they took that mechanic
I think
out?
it was fine.
Yeah,
I think
I
it made
didn't care.
sense.
Because I do feel like that really does take away some of the scariness of that disease, like that it can transmute through air.
It would have been
Transmit,
nicer
I'm sorry,
because I
transmute.
feel like if there were spore scenes, we would have got more infected scenes,
Yeah.
which would have been
Oh,
nicer.
yeah, true. Good
yeah,
point.
like that would have been nice.
and
but,
Pedro
you know,
Pascal's wearing a fucking helmet.
I was gonna
in
say
another
I don't
show,
think I
so-
think Pedro Pascal was like, I'm not wearing a fucking mask for another
Yeah.
fucking show. God damn it! I
I'm
swear
already.
to God.
I'm already.
It was so
like,
fun. I
fully
was
in on
watching
this
The
one.
Mandalorian and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a Pedro Pascal show too. Like I don't know why. I like
Right,
didn't even
he's
think
in the
about
helmet
it.
the whole
And
fucking
I will
time.
give him credit for taking that show because you can forget that almost to a degree because he never has his fucking helmet off. But anyways, what else? Were you about to say something?
Oh
else?
yeah, I was just my wrap up was
Yeah.
I for some reason when it ended I'm like okay they definitely kept it true to it, like it was just perfect ending, but a little part of me wanted like a bonus scene at the end of just like the siren in the hospital and just with. You see an arm opening the door, so it's like just showing Abby. I was like, "Oh, please do that!" I would have been so happy, but they didn't.
I think I would have liked that. I think I'm
was
into it.
the whole time. I'm like, "Please,
I will
This
give-
is such a good way to just like have a cliffhanger, even though
Right.
be okay.
What was
is
that?
A
Right.
huge cliffhanger.
Right.
To be honest, I'm surprised I will give them a bit of credit for holding it back. Actually,
Yeah.
for like actually
Well,
having
and
the,
to think about it, they didn't know this. We were
Would
gonna
get a
a
second season,
two.
so
even though
really
they
this-
probably did, but
No, it's true. They're probably pretty confident. But this does end in a spot where you could, and as the first Last of Us did, where you can just leave it alone. If you really wanted to, that's a great...
and it's funny to
story.
think we don't know if we're getting a part 3. We know the multiplayer game is in development and Naughty Dog is working on some other IP.
yeah, they said
I will
said
be
they're working on
incredibly
something else.
surprised. I just want I know I know
hope
it's
it's not
cynical,
Uncharted.
but they will absolutely make a third.
I don't know.
No,
I
at some
don't
point.
think so.
I don't want it. I honestly
want it
don't
either,
want
but
it.
I don't either. I don't either. The way 2
Just the
leaves
unrelenting
off
sadness of
is
2.
so.
But yeah, like
Jesus
what else
Christ.
is there?
What else? Yeah.
I
What
mean,
else?
Ellie still has some fingers.
She's still got another hand.
Hold on, let me lose my feet now.
Dude, just...
We'll just play as Joel before the
Maybe I will
infection.
force
just
myself-
going to work as Joel. That's part 3.
Maybe I will force myself to play the second one again,
give it a
and just
shot.
give it and just see if I come away with any real
Go for the
differences.
platinum, you know?
Maybe going and just knowing how insane is that platinum.
Well, when they added, it's
I've
fine.
been sort of going
They
for some
added the
platinums
they
here and
added
there.
the grounded stuff, and that made it difficult.
Okay,
Remember, I was telling you
Yeah.
because it was on grounded and.
but do you need grounded to get?
I was doing grounded and permadeath at the same time.
No,
So
I thought that's
that
the
because that
add-on.
came
it's
after.
not, it's not part of the platinum,
Yeah.
but I'm just.
He's 100%.
No, I know he goes
and
back
platter,
after
yeah.
it's done. Yeah, no, I know,
I cannot leave house without platinum.
dude. I was
Look,
playing.
just shine on, Gooch.
I'm a hero.
I lost the Dead Space platinum right at the end because I exploded on my hardcore run through, and it was a very sad.
Oh God,
day.
God
Yeah.
bless you.
It was
God
very
bless you.
sad. It's the last one.
Yeah, that's it. But
Yeah, my wrap up is I like you said, like I honestly would just be happy if this was it. I'd be like, this is great. But if they're gonna do a season, split it up. Now I'm more so like, okay, Just stay true, please.
At the very least.
Don't ruin this for me because you did it. You get the gold medal. You broke the curse. Don't add stupid shit because
Sonic broke the curse. No.
You're kind of right in a way.
And
But
all
I don't like to admit that.
I honestly started watching Sonic. And
I still
fell asleep.
I still haven't
I'm
watched
sorry.
it. I still haven't
You
seen it.
dare fall asleep during Sonic the
I
Hedgehog?
will.
God
watch
damn it,
at some
The
James
point.
second one is
Marsden?
much better. But anyway.
I still haven't seen either. Or Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Is it one of my favorite shows because it's my favorite game? No, it's not.
Ooh.
Because like I hold shows like there's shows that I hold very high, and it was nowhere near that.
Fair enough.
Like I'm
I
wondering
agree.
because I watch 2 shows every year,
Yeah.
Sopranos and Breaking Bad, and I switch back. And now Better Call Saul because
When's the Sopranos rewatch happening?
I literally just finished. And,
What?
no, I just finished Breaking Bad, so I'm thinking maybe like summer. I'll start
you'll
it.
have some time.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
my
that's the time.
watermark for like one of my absolute favorite seasons of television, not necessarily the whole show, is probably the first season of Dexter. That's one of
Fantastic,
my. It's
yeah.
literally I think one of my favorite. I've rewatched that season so many times.
I'm not a show rewatcher. I actually
Yeah.
had a girl at work was kind of like looked at me like I had 7 heads, and she was like in like you don't rewatch shows. I'm like, no.
We have video games to play.
I will rewatch a movie or replay a game, but a show that's a big commitment.
There's no trophies in watching shows.
Yeah,
So
you
yeah,
can. There's no trophies in TV show
What's the
watching.
fucking point?
But yeah, that like so I don't know the replay value on this because I only watched every episode
and you know the
once,
game.
and I know the game front to back. So I'm curious on like what a second watch will be. Like, will I enjoy it as much, or now that I know where they went, will I like some of the parts where I'm like, ugh, will I like it more because
Right,
I
will it
was
hit different?
Yeah. But all in all, I would say fantastic job.
Awesome,
Yeah.
fantastic. I would agree. Yeah, I can't.
Before you outro us out,
Yes.
Chaz, I didn't. Do you want to plug anything? Do I have to put any links in the description for you? I don't know. I just. Wanted
I don't know.
You do shit. I just wanted to
I
give you
do
the
a bunch of shit. I'm a creator. I make videos. I play games. I play music. So I'm the videographer
Blue.
boy here. If you need a video for literally anything, weddings, promotional, anything,
This man has you.
He does. He does.
you
He
hit
does
me
good
up.
work.
www.vimeo.com/chudvid to check out my work. You can see the vast selection of
He's ready for
things that I got. If you want to hit me up, chudwardvideo@gmail.com. And
You can find all this in the description.
you can find
folks.
all the just
all gonna be down below.
Down below. And if you are a gamer, and God bless your soul if you're a gamer, please help me find a game that is not Escape from Tarkov, because that is literally all I play now. I need to get off this heroin addiction of Escape from Tarkov.
It is really all you actually
Dude,
play. You don't
it's-
even play Siege anymore. What happened?
Escape from Tarkov is literally The Last of Us Part 2 when you switch to Abby. It's literally like that every fucking day. It's just I'm pissed off. I hate this game. Like why the fuck do I play this? I'm going back to console where it's safe. All right, let me do one more raid. All right, let me do this.
Yeah.
And now,
Let me-
now
another
I'm at a
hit.
high. Right now I'm
Another
at a
hit.
high.
Another hit.
I have so much money. I'm doing so good. Actually, no. Before I came here, I died and I'm losing money. I'm like, all right, I literally got to step back from this because I'm gonna hate this game again. But I need to find another game. So, I want you to experience it, but you play too many games that you won't
dude.
fully experience it.
I fucking told you.
I know.
I would
But
play Tarkov. Take
know,
my hand
I
and lead
wasn't-
me into
I
the
wasn't
promised
in the-
land.
I'm
You know,
ready
there's
now.
a little game you might never heard of. It's very small.
It's called Sonic.
It's actually Fortnite. I apologize.
Fortnite.
Yeah, come on. You never heard? No, I'm kidding.
I was like, where are you going with that?
No, it was just supposed to be the joke of, it's the biggest game on earth. But anyways, guys, after my failed comedic attempt, you will find all his information down below for us. Chaz, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. But if you all have been watching live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network, we very much appreciate you. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We're on all your social media pages as well, at Delco Nerds on basically everything. We got a Facebook page. We have a Discord channel, all of which shall be linked below. You can find this information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can even email us, DelcoNerds@gmail.com, with all your comments, questions, or concerns. We'd be happy to send Abby your way with a big old baseball bat. But you can. We're
Thank
in the
God
spoil-
it wasn't a
we're in
baseball
the-
bat.
Well, we're in the spoil-
We'll keep it like that.
Oh, right. Yeah, fair. That's right. But thank you all so much for watching. For Gooch, for Chaz, for me. I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time. Oh, it's a golf ball. It's a golf club.
Should I keep that in? That was pretty funny.